Defensive linemen love to hit a quarterback, but to be a defensive lineman and then wake up one day and realize you might just be the starting quarterback is a whole nother story. And that's what happened to Matthew Bear, a CDS athlete that I've been working with since elementary school. Now, Matthew started off here in Forsyth County, and in middle school, he decided to leave and go to Texas. While in Texas, he met up with a speed coach, a speed trainer, and this guy noticed something very different about Matthew. Now, what he noticed was Matthew had a little bit of a cannon. He had an arm. And he says, Matthew, you got a nice arm going right there. You think you can throw the ball? Matthew says, I don't really know. Well, listen, we're going to try you out anyway because we need to take you through a workout and see what you got. So they take Matthew through this workout, and Matthew crushes the workout. He's having a great time spinning the ball. In fact, Matthew says he feels more alive than ever. And from there, it's pretty much history for Matthew. He comes back to Georgia after leaving Texas. He attends Denmark High School where he's going to play quarterback, but he has to sit on the bench. Now, I believe the coach did say that he would compete for a starting job, and the coach might have even said that he was going to be the starter. I'm not sure. But he comes back to Denmark, and he's sitting behind another quarterback. He's at number 2. He's learning, going through the playbook. He gets some time to get into the game and make a couple plays. And I believe early on in the season, he actually had the game-winning touchdown run. So Matthew Bear is off to a great start. And the second year he's there at Denmark, he actually earns the starting job. Now, Matthew Bear has had a heck of a story for where he's been and where he is right now. Matthew is transferring from Denmark High School to Avon Old Farms, which is a boarding school up in Connecticut. Now, the thing about this boarding school and him making this transfer, Matthew is going to have to reclass. This means that when he reclasses, he's probably going to be maybe 1 year older. I think some of these other kids that go there too, I think they reclass as well. So he's probably going to be in the same age group as those kids. He's 18 years old. That's normally your senior age, but I believe he has to redo his junior year. I'm not sure, but if you can look up the reclass information, normally what they do is they make you do the year over again. But that's all well and fine because Coach Hooley is up there at Avon Old Farms. Gunnar Stockton was one of the last quarterbacks, I believe, that went to Avon Old Farms. So we've seen great players be developed out of Avon Old Farms. And these are athletes that are coming from all around the country. So these athletes don't just come from Connecticut. Bear's coming from Georgia. So you're going to have people coming from California, Texas. So we're going to do a little bit more research about Avon Old Farms. And I'm very interested to see some of the games. And I do want to see what caliber of athletes that they have on their team. Now, Matthew recently left. I believe it was August 22nd that they reported. And they've been going up back and forth all summer to do workouts and do trainings and do camps. Now, one thing that really stood out to me about this Avon Old Farm school is that it's an all-boys school. It's all boys. Now, there is the sister school, I believe, is a little bit up the road, maybe a couple minutes up the road or something like that. So they have an all-girls school where they'll have football camps and different events where both schools, the girls and the boys, will come together to do those type of events. Now, Bear did share some details with me about the dorm room situations and how it works at Avon. I'm not going to share those things, but I will say that they're setting these guys up to become better men, not just in sports and academics, but at life. And that is what it truly sounds like at Avon. I'll give you one hint. There's no AC. There's no AC in the dorm room. And that's how it's been. It seems like they have a really strong tradition, a really strong culture there at Avon. And Bear really speaks very highly of Coach Hooley. So that was his decision maker. Talking to Coach Hooley, that was who really, I think, reached out to him on Twitter. And that is what helped Matthew make the decision, say, you know what, I'm going to leave Denmark for my senior year. So He would have been a senior this year at Denmark. Now you might say, well, hey, these kids, they don't need to transfer. They don't need to do this. And I totally understand and I agree in certain circumstances. But after talking to Matthew and talking to his mom and understanding his situation, growing up in a house without a father, being in the house with just him and his mom, he sees this as an opportunity to set himself up for a stronger career. He's looking at the benefits down the line. He's not just like some people just look at right now and they make a decision. He's actually sat down with his godfather, his mom. He's talked to me. He has people in his corner that care about his decision making and his choices. And that is very important when it comes to athletes. Before we start demonizing these athletes for their decisions and stuff like that, we have to understand that they're human. They're human. And so for anyone to, say something bad about these transfers, I think we have to understand that everybody's situation is different. Now, we do have some athletes that are trying to make, capital gain. They want to go over here and play quarterback because this team right here is going to give me a Lamborghini. They got $5 million for me. They're relocating and buying my house and paying for my car. This place over here, they're only paying for my house and that's it. So you do have some athletes that are getting really, really, really greedy right now. And a lot of it's coming from the NIL. I do understand, but that stuff is also trickling down to the high school athletes and it's making them make decisions a little bit differently. Nowadays, people are leveraging crypto. They're leveraging other assets, digital assets to their salaries. So for instance, Odell Beckham says, I don't want to be paid in US dollars. I want mine in Bitcoin. All right. Now we know Bitcoin is through the roof, but I think high school athletes also have to make sure that they weigh in with their support system. Make sure you have a support system and make sure you're doing things for the right reasons. Be a person that can judge your circumstance, not just your situation, but the situation of the people around you that you care about, because you're going to affect your mom or your dad when you make a decision to go do X, Y, and Z. You're going to affect people around you that you care about when you decide to do certain things. So for Bear, yes, mom has to figure out how to get up there and watch those games. And I already told him, I said, listen, man, let me know when y'all play. Let me know because I need to make sure that y'all are being live streamed and that we can see Avon Old Farms. It's important that athletes get support, not just because they're your son or your daughter, but because being an athlete and adapting and adjusting, it is not easy. Being an athlete is not easy. And I don't know if people really, really understand the discipline required to be an athlete and maintain that lifestyle while you're continuing to chase your dreams. It is not for the weak. And most people can tell you when they went to college or when they played sports that it is the reason why they are the person that they are today. It is the reason for the athletic mindset. It is the reason for the never give up mentality. It is the reason for the understanding of my perspective, my outlook, and the way that I see things. We're wishing the best to Matthew on his journey with transferring and starting a new school. I truly believe that this will be the last move for Bear. It has to be because he has to finish up and go ahead and start college. He has talked to Coach Hooley. He will right now be the starting quarterback for Avon Farms. He is the starting quarterback right now for Avon Old Farms. Matthew Bear is the starting quarterback right now for Avon Old Farms. So he didn't transfer to ride the bench, okay? He's already been up there and they've already made the announcement. It's his job to lose. So that's a good thing, but the work has got to be done. The work has got to be done. So I'm proud of all of my athletes, all of my CDS athletes, girls and boys. We have golf athletes, lacrosse athletes, football, basketball, cricket, every single sport, all the way down to tennis. We even have kids that are autistic because we have created programs and strategies for kids that are a little bit different. Guess what? They still got to get their exercise too. And when it comes to Coach Tim Buckley, I'm the type of person, my motto is creating change one athlete at a time. And it does not matter what type of athlete you are. We always find a way to adapt, modify exercises, find alternates, and figure out what works for you. And I always tell my athletes, if I don't know, if If you ask me a question and I don't know, I will find the answer and get back to you with the information. Don't miss the next episode. Make sure you're following us on Spotify, all the platforms that have these podcasts, as well as where you can watch these podcasts at. It's been a great time chatting here. My CDS athletes, continue putting the work in. Continue to stay diligent with your workflow. To my adults, to my parents and individuals, take no days for granted. Every single day is an opportunity to become 1% better. Let's work.